All right, in this session, our guests will be speaking on Conquer the Stage, the new way that you can speak without saying a word. You're going to learn a few things here today. What to do if you don't have confidence to present your own webinars or you just don't care to do it anymore. What is the spokesperson model and why it works, and we're going to cover a whole lot more. Today's guest, Vernon T. Foster, is a sought-after consultant, award-winning speaker, educator, and webinar presenter. His work has appeared on Entrepreneur, EO Fire, and the podcast movement. He's the founder of WebinarSpokesperson.com and Webinar Workshop. Vernon and his team play a vital role in facilitating the growth and scale for an intentionally small roster of hand-picked clients. So, Vernon, man, I'm curious, man, what's the big idea with the webinar spokesperson, and then why is it important for every struggling webinar marketer in our audience who wants to make money to pay attention?
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Nemo. I appreciate it. I would say the like tagline or the elevator pitch, right? That most people have an elevator pitch or a benefit statement. I'd say it really comes down to, like, we help marketers present their webinars without using their face, voice, or personal brand. And the best way that I can describe it is almost like you think about like Jake from State Farm, right? Like, he's like the spokesperson for State Farm. Yeah, the only difference is, like, we don't do commercials. We do webinars, and we make money doing that. So, yeah.
Hey, I'm not mad at that at all. And then why should they be paying attention? You know, what's the kind of thing there?
So I think in terms of, like, if anybody's struggling with webinars out there, just getting started, or even if you're super successful, like, I think the webinars, and I'm sure a lot of people attest to this in our industry, like, webinars are one of the best mechanisms. And maybe it's not a webinar, that's not how you say it, but masterclass challenge. Right? There's different ways to say it, but it's all the same thing, right? It's selling one to many. Instead of going one to one, you're selling one to many. And the reason why that's so powerful is because, I mean, there's nothing out there that's going to allow you to make the amount of money at scale that you can with webinars. And that's been proven for, 20 plus years, however long this industry's been around, right? And so it works well, and you are able to, sell one to many. I would also say that, like, the way I see it is just like, when you have a webinar, that's just like the campfire, but when you have, like, the traffic, that is really like the gasoline. So combining those two together with a traffic source really can set things, on fire for you.
I like that. And, the cool thing, too, is that these were once called seminars.
Yep.
That's the only difference nowadays.
Yeah,
so it
exactly.
went from seminars to webinar, which I'm sure that's where they got it from anyway.
Oh, yeah.
So you're good. I think if people can understand that, which they probably never put it together, I think they'll be all right. But with that, right, seminars were a niche. Webinars are, I'm sure, a niche in its own right. So a concept like, the seminars and even now evolving to webinars, seems very niche, right? Mm-hmm. So how did you discover this model, and how did you identify the gap in the market for a service like this?
Yeah, totally. So for me, it goes back to a little bit we kind of got to jump in a time machine and go back in time to my DJ days. I actually started my first business when I was 19 years old. There was an entertainment company when I was in college at FSU.
Okay.
From that, I got into podcasting, got into doing events. And from there, when I got into podcasting and started helping entrepreneurs, one of the things I discovered is that people were definitely afraid of being on camera. So for whatever reason, they were like, I don't want to be on camera. I'd rather die than be on stage. I just never understood that. People literally pay me thousands of dollars to train them and coach them on their camera confidence, their, being in front of the camera, and they wouldn't do it, right? So it always blew my mind. That stuck with me, and it stayed it was always in the back of my head as a true entrepreneur. I was like, I'm going to solve this problem one day. I don't know how, but I'm going to figure it out. So fast forward, I'm watching the Super Bowl, and I see this commercial, right? We've all seen this commercial, like a good neighbor, State Farm is there, right? It's the Jake. He's like the spokesperson for State Farm. So
Absolutely.
then I had the aha moment. I'm like, oh my gosh, I think that's the solution that we've been looking for, right? It's like, how can we marry that with webinars? And then I went back to my DJ days, and it's like, there's this thing called a mashup. You may
Yeah.
be familiar with it. Some people may not, but if they're not, it's like you take a concept like a song and you mash it up with another song, and they're not really supposed to go together, but when they go together, it's like it sounds really cool. You're like, oh man, I would have never thought of that. And that's what I think of with webinar spokesperson. We took two different things that aren't really technically, you wouldn't think go together, and we mashed them up, and we became basically the Jake for webinars.
That's cool. I appreciate that breakdown. And sometimes that is where you find it, right? You find those really cool ideas and random moments of whether it's commercial or, maybe it's a moment in the shower, or maybe it's hanging out with friends, right? There's all these cool ways that you can discover new and creative ideas. So kudos there. And when you put this idea together, of course, like now the next step is you got to put together like the process, the system, all that cool stuff to make it make sense, because it's just an idea now, but now you got to make other people be aware of how this idea works. So how does your system actually work? That would be, I think, a good question for the audience to get an understanding of.
Yeah, it's a pretty straightforward onboarding process. I think there's really two types of people that come to us. So the first type would be somebody who is like super green. They don't have a webinar. They don't have a workshop. They've never done one before. And then the other person is like a seasoned vet who's just like, they're like, look, I can't do this anymore. I'm tired of doing my webinars. I want to move into a different part of my business or exit it. And so those are the two types of people. In terms of the process, it's pretty simple. We have an onboarding. And then we take a look at like, who their avatar is, who their audience. We look at their offer, we dial it in, and then from there we basically just get to work.
Gotcha. Now for me, I'm like, look, if I ain't never done a webinar before, I'm thinking I need to have, public speaking skills, high quality camera equipment. Like I need to have a lot of certain things in place. So for someone just starting, well, even if someone is experienced, what kind of skills do I really need to make this work? And, do I need to have a full-on background in like teaching or presenting or just doing this stuff? No. Okay.
No. If you want to do your own webinar, yes, all that stuff is important. But in my experience, what I found is there's really three things, right? There's really three things. And the first one is that you have to be willing to ask for help and support. Okay. Or to reach out, right? Whether it's us or somebody else, like, which most entrepreneurs, like, it's kind of funny, right? Because we solve problems, but we don't look for other people to solve our problems. Yeah. So I would say that's first and foremost, being open to ask for help. The second is like, you actually don't have to have experience, like being in front of the camera or doing webinars. It actually like hurts you. Because you come with bad habits or like expectations of like, oh, it should be like this or right. And it's like, you're trying to like tell us how to do our thing. It's like, we got this, homie. Like we got this. You just sit back and collect the check. And then the third thing is just having an open mind. Right. So, a lot of people say, oh, like, is this going to work for me? Like, what if like I'm the guru and you're present, right? It's like, so there's a lot of like mindset stuff. I think that's like really the biggest hurdle, but it's not confidence. It's not even having like a webinar deck. You don't even need a deck. You don't even need to understand how it works. I mean, you should understand how it works, but you don't need any of the tech or all that stuff, because we do all that stuff for you.
Good. Well, thank you. Because I'm thinking to myself, I don't have time to try to learn this and figure this out. And I think that's even YouTube brings fatigue, right? And you might be like, oh, I could go look this up and do it on my own. So now it sounds like to me, get my mindset right, give me a spokesperson, and really just ask for help. It sounds like the model that I need to be successful with this platform. But that's just my assumption. I don't know. Is that true for you or?
Yeah, no, I'd say that's pretty spot on. I mean, I can't really think of anything else outside of that if you're going this route. But for some people, that's a hurdle for them that they can't get over, right? And for others, they realize that, hey, man, this is the easiest path of resistance. I'm going to take this and run with it.
Okay, got it. Now, I'm used to trying to dispel myths, false beliefs, because I think if we're going to get our mindset right, we got to kind of shift our thinking. So what do you think most people believe you have to do to make money with webinars, and why might that be kind of almost holding them back?
Yeah, I would say the biggest one is they think they have to do it themselves, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like, oh, I have to go out and I have to build this webinar, and I have to build this deck, and I have to build this funnel, and I have to do this and that and this. And those things are true to some extent, right?
Yeah.
If you're not getting support, but you don't actually have to do all of that stuff, right? Like, you can lean on service providers, right? Funnel builders. And so, like, I think that, like, most people's hurdle isn't, like, they think it's, like, the tech or the thing or all these things that they need to have, the confidence, etc. But in reality, it's really themselves, right? It's really them getting out of their own way. And that's when, the opportunities, comes and the money comes.
Yeah, that's good to know. Myself, I'm the block, for stopping
most people
myself.
are, man. It's all 90% of this game. Well, I'd say 99% of this game is mindset. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you sharing that with the audience. I hope y'all are taking that in before you even get into, like, okay, do I want to do this, not want to do it? What's your mindset like, right? Getting that right, or maybe even push you further when you're thinking about a concept that, once again, seems to be new, seems to be niche, seems to be something different, but once the mindset gets right, all that stuff goes out the window. So just a little tidbit for the audience there. Now, in some cases, this sounds really cool, man. It sounds too good to be true almost. So why does this work, even for those who aren't 6-7 figure webinars marketers or people with tons of experience? Like, how does this still work?
How does it work, or why does it work?
Like, why does it? Yeah, like, why does this work? Yeah, especially if I'm not a 6-7 figure marketing person, anyways, right? Like,
yeah,
why does this method work?
Yeah, it works because you really don't have to do anything. Yeah. I mean, we've literally took away all the outside of the mindset, because we can't change people's mindset. We've literally taken out all of the things that would potentially be barriers: the tech, the funnels, the offer, the script, right? And we've basically put that into our package and said, hey, like, how would you like us to do all of this for you? Mm-hmm. You do no work, and we make you money.
Yeah.
So, I mean, anybody can do that, right? You don't have to have a high school degree. You don't have to be an expert. I mean, you have to have expertise. You should be selling something that's legit and that adds value to the marketplace. But you don't need to be this polished person who speaks and is charismatic and can ooze and ahs with confidence, because we literally do everything for you, and we package it up in a way where obviously it costs money, right? And it's not cheap, but we've literally taken all of the things that people have said are excuses, and we said, okay, what if we did this? Okay, what if we did that? What if we did this? What if we did that? And now the only thing is, like, hey, like, where do I cut the check, right? It's just a matter of, like, signing on the dotted line.
Nice. Yeah. I appreciate you dispelling some of my thought processes here and making it clear for me, so that's cool.
Crystal.
Now, I'm somebody, I see what you did. I'm somebody who's like, look, I need to see results quick. I'm 30 plus. I don't got time to be tinkering and building from the bottom anymore. So, like, how fast can I look to see some results here? Because especially, there is a cost point here. I'm making that sacrifice, the investment. Sure. So when do I see that first ROI if I'm the webinar spokesperson here?
I mean, it's really going to come down to those one or two people that we talked about earlier, the two types of people that come to work with us. So we typically tell people 2 to 8 weeks before you start seeing any traction and getting results. And that'll depend on the assets that you have, right? So if you have a strong offer, it doesn't need to be tweaked. If you have a funnel, right, or if you have something built that we can tweak, it's going to be a lot easier, right? That's going to be closer to that 2-week frame. If you're super green and you're just getting started and you don't have any assets built and we got to work with you and build all that stuff up, build the script, right? Write the script. That's going to be more on the latter part of that. So 2 to 8 weeks. And I think that's pretty damn good for, people not having an asset on that 8 weekend. And even if like you already have something existing, for somebody to be able to come in your business and replace you in 2 weeks and make you the same amount, if not more money than you were making without you doing any of the work is a hell of a great deal. Yeah.
Sounds like an investment worth making.
Yeah, I would say for sure.
Now, look, cool. How do I get started, get plugged in, the whole nine?
Yeah, it's a great question. So for anybody who's interested, if they just want to find out more, we have a vetting process. Obviously, we take people through. So you can head over to webinarspokesperson.com. That's webinarspokesperson.com. And there'll be a button there where you fill out an application. They'll ask you, a couple of questions about, your background, your business. We won't ask you for your firstborn child, of course. You didn't have your firstborn. But yeah, we try to get like an understanding of, what your needs are. And look, if we can't help you, there's plenty of people that we can potentially introduce you to if we can't help you. So I always say reach out, put your best foot forward. And if we can't be of service to you, maybe we know somebody who can, or we'll say, hey, here's what I think you should do. And then you can come back to us later. So we've had scenarios like that too. But webinarspokesperson.com is where you can apply for that.
Awesome, man. Appreciate that. And I just want to thank you. Thank you, Vernon. I mean, you joined us today. You dropped some gems on us and really gave us some knowledge to take with us as we try to up our income, right? To make that passive money, which is always amazing to do. And if you haven't claimed your VIP pass to access these recordings, transcripts, MP3s, and our must-have bonus package, you can get it now by clicking the button on this page to upgrade before it's too late. So get it now before it's too late. And remember that when the event is over, the recordings and all the bonuses, poof, they vanish, they go away. So make sure that you claim your VIP pass before it is too late.
I got actually something I'm gonna throw in here, Nemo. I'm gonna throw something. I'm gonna do something crazy that was unexpected. That is right out of left field, like a DJ would do, like a true DJ would do. Get the crowd into it. So for anybody out there who's in the crowd right now, you take advantage of this. You reach out to us. If on this summit, if you put in this session, if you put webinar workshop, if you put that in there, if you mention the code webinar workshop, if you just put that in your application in the anything else section in the comments, we will give you $1,000 up to $1,000 off of our service. So nice. That's a kind gesture we'll throw in there. We'll throw that one in there.
We appreciate that.
Yeah.
All righty, everybody. Thank you for joining our session and have a